Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today we have Equisys with us, and Sandra Cummings and Mitch Brown will be presenting today on modernized business processes with Zetadocs Expense and document management. And we do record all of our webinars, so if you would like to watch this again or if you want to review it with anyone, share it, you're more than welcome to. It will be on our website at innovia.com by the end of the week for you to do so. And if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to type those into the questions box, and we will get them called out during our Q&A time toward the end of the webinar. So now I'll turn it over to Sandra and she'll kick off our presentation.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Angie, and thank you everyone for attending our webinar today. We are excited to talk about Zetadocs Expense and document management and how that can help you modernize your workflows. So what I'd like to do is to start with a quick introduction. My name is Sandra Cummings. I am the account manager here at Equisys, and joining me is Mitch Brown, our sales director.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time today.
Today we're going to talk about tackling the challenges that we hear from customers, challenges that relate to expense management, document delivery, and the archival of important information. Working with our Innovia customers, we have learned that each organization is unique in their challenges on how to get the most out of their NAV-based practice with their processes and workflows. Over the years, I have seen our project team here at Equisys fully utilize Zetadocs for NAV to help our Innovia customers modernize their business processes in creative and flexible ways. We have developed techniques and solutions that have helped businesses modernize common processes like invoice delivery, employee expense approval, and allowing employees to be more productive by ensuring that they have access to the right information at the right time. And in all of these areas, we know that each customer has its own unique requirements. So we're really excited today to show you how Zetadocs can meet those unique challenges. Who is this for? The people that benefit the most from a document management solution are most often NAV users, primarily those who are based in the office and use paper and shared network folders for a variety of reasons. Does your organization have challenges when it comes to delivering reports out of NAV? Does your organization face challenges because employees are not storing documents in the same manner so that they become difficult to find? And what about on the expense side? Does your finance team get inundated with expense reports at the end of the month that need to be rekeyed into NAV for processing? These are just some of the things that we're going to be covering in today's session. Starting with Zetadocs Expenses, we'll show you how companies are using Zetadocs Expenses to eliminate the rekeying that finance teams often do, while also making it easier for your field teams to enter expense reports from the road. And then we will demonstrate the flexibility of Zetadocs and how it can be used to overcome unique challenges when sending out documents and storing files in a consistent way. At the end of the presentation, we'll show you how you can use a simple return on investment calculator to estimate your return on investment, and also share with you our plans for Zetadocs support of Business Central. Our history with the foundation of Equisys started 30 years ago. 30 years ago, Equisys was founded in the UK. Our headquarters are in London, and our US office is here in Alpharetta, which is just north of Atlanta. In 2007, we introduced Zetadocs for NAV, starting with Capture and Delivery. And this came from conversations with customers and partners who were looking for ways to deliver documents out of NAV in a batch, and to also look for more consistent ways to store documents within NAV records. Zetadocs is now well established as a widely used document management add-on for NAV with over 5,000 companies using it globally. With the development of Zetadocs, we are one of the first NAV add-ons to achieve certified for Microsoft Dynamics accreditation. We are very proud of that certification, and as part of our commitment to Microsoft, we strive for and earn that certification every year. So let's move into expense management. When it comes to business expenses, we are in regular contact with NAV users and understand some of the challenges that they face when using NAV to process business expenses. So as I go through the demo, think about how you are currently processing expenses and what are some of your challenges. Some of the challenges that we hear include the time that it takes to rekey expense information, employee awareness of corporate policies and the enforcement of corporate policies, lost receipts, and accessibility by non-NAV users. Some of these may apply to your challenges, but think about that as I'm going through the demo. Starting with a survey, this is a survey of business managers and leaders by the Aberdeen Group. This is the 2017 survey. We had asked what was the average amount of time that it would take to process an employee's expense claim. In looking at the results, we found that on average, according to this survey, it can take up to 10 days to process an employee expense claim. The same survey revealed that nearly half of all the respondents see that their top pressure when it comes to expense management is eliminating their current manual, paper-based process. When 9 out of 10 business leaders switched to a digital solution, they saw a significant reduction in their administrative work, saving them time and money. Zetadocs Expenses is designed for small to medium-sized businesses. By using Zetadocs Expenses, you have greater control over your expense management process. One of the ways is that using Zetadocs Expenses, it offers instant mobile expense submission and approval, which is great for companies that are looking for an easy-to-use app. The Zetadocs Expenses app, which I'll show in just a minute, can be used on both Apple and Android devices, as well as tablets. So it does make it very easy for users, whether they're submitters or approvers, to go ahead and submit an expense and approve it very quickly. Also with Zetadocs Expenses, reimbursements of expenses, including mileage, is fast and accurate. The solution is designed so that NAV and non-NAV users can use the system, which helps speed up the process. Also, when we add new features, the software updates itself because it is a cloud solution. So as a result, you are always on the latest version of the software, and it updates without you having to do anything. So that's something really key to look for as you're researching expense management solutions. You want to find a solution that updates itself so that there's nothing required on your part or on Innovia's part when we add new improvements. For example, over this past year, some of the updates we added was multi-company support, support for reconciling additional bank credit card statements, an option to email in receipts. Those are just some of the features that we've added this year without our customers having to do anything on their end. And then also we offer support from our U.S. office, meaning that you can get quick, direct answers to any questions that you might have. And keep in mind that Zetadocs Expenses supports NAV 2009 R2 through NAV 2018. And now we are also excited that Zetadocs Expenses is available on AppSource for Business Central. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our demo. And starting with a few slides here of what the Zetadocs Expenses app looks like. So using the Zetadocs Expenses app, right here what you see on the screen is the first view when you open the app. To enter an expense, the the employee would hit this new expense tab. And when they hit that new expense tab, it's going to open up to this screen here. And this is where they would put in all the expense information. So in our example, we're showing lunch with Acme. The vendor is WC Kitchen. The employee used their corporate card. And the dollar amount of that lunch was $150.85, which immediately triggered the orange warning that this expense amount exceeds the threshold. So the nice thing with Zetadocs Expenses is you can set up your thresholds, whether that you want to set up soft limits and hard limits. You can set up an expense threshold for every type, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. This way, your employees are very aware when they exceed that threshold, and they know what your corporate policies are regarding expense payments. So I'm just going to jump down to the next screen here. And here, the employee would put in the expense type. All the GL codes with Zetadocs Expenses match the GL codes within NAV. And then moving down from expense type, they can also put in dimensions. So you can add dimension fields. We're finding that with most of our customers, they do use dimension fields. So in the example here, we put in department, project, event. You can determine how you want to break down those expense types and how you want those coded, not only with GL codes, but with the dimensions as well. And then lastly here on the bottom, we have our add receipt. And this is where your employee would add a receipt. They would just click on the add receipt. They can also click on the paperclip up here, and a window is going to pop out where they can either take a picture of their receipt and upload that picture to the expense. They can also choose from their library. A lot of field teams will go ahead and just take a picture of a receipt when they are finished with that lunch or that dinner with a client, and then they'll just save that in their library so they can pull it up later when they're going ahead and submitting the expense. Also with receipts, there is an email address, so your staff can email in receipts, and when they do that, the Zetadocs Expenses site will automatically create that expense, so that's a time saver there as well. So now just moving down, after that expense has been created, then your employee would submit the report. And when they create that new report and submit it, they're going to see this screen here, which shows the approval hierarchy. So in our example here, we'll say David is the employee. He's gone ahead and created an expense, and he's submitted it on his phone, and he sees the screen here that his first approver is going to be Phyllis, and then the second approver and processor will be April. You can also add approvers. There can be up to 5 approvers per expense. Now, in the example I'm going to show, the first approver is Kevin, and the final processor is April. So in hitting the submit button, then what happens is Kevin or Phyllis will receive an email notification that they have a expense to approve. So they would just click on the link in their email, and that's going to take them to the Zetadocs Expenses website. So let's go ahead and jump out of here so I can show you what that looks like. Here we go. So here we are. Here is the Zetadocs Expenses site, and this is the expenses dashboard for Kevin. Kevin sees that he has a task due here, so he's going to go ahead and hit on this task. And here's that expense report, so he'll go ahead and hit on that report. And now he can drill down and see the details of those expenses that have been entered. Notice here that it gives you the report date period. It also will break out not only the expense total, but the reimbursable amount, which is the mileage. So Kevin sees that we've got this report here. He sees the big orange triangle that the expense has been exceeded, so he's going to go ahead and drill in. And here he can see all of the details of that expense and the warning that it was that the limit was exceeded. Now in the notes section here, David can add in his business case. can do that on the phone app. So he could put in here that he closed a big deal with Acme. He can put in those details of his business case. So he would put that in here, and then moving down, Kevin is also checking to make sure that the GL code is correct. He's looking at the receipt to make sure that the receipt details match the expense details. It all looks good to him. In our example here, Kevin is going to go ahead and approve the report. So he would just go ahead and hit approve here. And that's going to take him to the next expense line item. Here's another lunch that David had, again with Acme, this time at Ichiban Steakhouse. Everything looks good here, except David forgot to add his receipt. So what Kevin can do at this point, he can hit this more button and hit the reject. And here he can just write in a comment, please add your receipt. And hit the reject button. Now what's nice about this feature is that he can reject that particular expense without rejecting the entire report. So he can go ahead and reconcile that credit card statement and not hold anything up and wait for David to go ahead and resubmit with that receipt. So when I rejected that expense, it moved right on to the next one. And here's all the mileage. And what's nice with Zetadocs Expenses, we have our direct integration with Google Maps, so that when your staff is putting in their mileage information, they don't have to spend any time with going back and maybe look at where they wrote down the mileage or going into Google Maps themselves to get the mileage. It's all done for them. Once they put in the miles, it's automatically calculated. And by hitting this little link right here, if Kevin wanted to look at the actual routing, they can, he can look at the routing to make sure it's all accurate. But this saves a tremendous amount of time, not only on the employee's end, but also on the approver's end, where they just know it's accurate mileage and they can approve and move on, which is what we're going to do here. So now Kevin has gone through the entire report, and here we've got our history here. He's going to hit this approve button. If he wants to put comments in, he can. Here's a reminder that one of the expenses exceeded the warning. And at this point, Kevin is finished with the approval. So now it's going to go from Kevin back to April. So let's jump out of here, and we're going to go to April's screen, because now Kevin has, let's try that one more time. Where did it go? Here. Here's Kevin. And here we go. Here's April's screen. So when Kevin approved that report, April received an email notification that she had a task due to approve the report and process it. So she clicked on her link, and it took her to her dashboard here. And here she's going to go ahead and take a look at the report that Kevin just approved. And she'll go ahead and drill in. And again, she sees the same details that Kevin had seen. And here's a little bit more of the history here. She can see that Kevin had rejected one of the expenses, and then he went ahead and assigned it to April. She's going to go through the process, and she will approve as well. Now, once she's finished approving, she can go ahead and take a look at the report that she just approved. So we'll go into all reports, and you can see right here, here's that report. She'll click on it. And now we'll see that we have the lunch that exceeded the threshold, and also the steakhouse expense. And then at this point, she can go into Business Central. Now we're going to go ahead and refresh Business Central. The nice thing is that we have this direct integration with Business Central. So what Zetadocs has done has automatically created a purchase invoice for this expense report. And actually, we've created 2 reports. We'll go right into invoices, and I can show you that there have been 2 invoices created, one for the non-reimbursable for the credit card statement, and then also one for the mileage. So let's take a look at that here. We'll go ahead and take a look at the report. And there's the invoice. Drilling into the invoice, you can see the amount of the invoice. All the rekeying is eliminated because all of the GL codes and the expense item information has all been carried over to the invoice here that's been automatically created. So then your processor can just go ahead and post it, and then they'll be done. And then we'll just kind of jump out and then take a look, and here's that mileage invoice that's been created. So you can see how very quickly you can go through the process of creating the expense, submitting it, having it approved, and have it processed with that direct integration into Business Central. Now the same thing works with NAV. So for those of you that are using NAV, we have the direct integration with NAV where a purchase invoice is created for both the reimbursable and also the non-reimbursable within the NAV purchase invoice record. So this gives you a brief overview of Zetadocs Expenses, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the deck. And what we thought we would do is save all questions for the end of the presentation.
And just while Sandra's switching back over to the deck, one thing also to mention, we showed how Zetadocs Expenses can be used to create a purchase invoice. If you'd rather have the system create a journal entry, we also support that as well. So you can either have it create an invoice or a journal entry. And for those customers that are on NAV, we actually support NAV going all the way back to version 2009. So just wanted to add those 2 points, and we'll pass things back to Sandra.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Appreciate it. So that gives you a brief overview of Zetadocs Expenses, and now we're going to move into Zetadocs Document Management, starting with Zetadocs Delivery. We often hear from our customers that sending documents out from NAV is an important part of their business, as this is where you need to produce quotes to generate revenue and send out invoices to receive payments. Using Zetadocs Delivery, you can send out your quotes, invoices, or any other documents in a batch, as opposed to a single send. And when those batches go out, the system is designed so that you can personalize the email message and attach supporting documents to that email. So for example, when you're sending out invoices, you can use our templates to add a personalized message that matches the type of document that you're sending out. This way you keep all your messaging consistent with your customers. Now, performing batch delivery is great, but sometimes you may want the system to change behavior based on your needs and your requirements. So to make sure that the right documents are going to the right people, you can use Zetadocs Delivery for both sending out to the sell to or to the bill to. And on the document side, we can set up the system so that the documents that are attached match your customer's requirements. For example, recently we worked with a customer that wanted to send out statements with overdue invoices attached to some of their customers, but to their other customers, they just wanted them to receive the statements without the overdue invoices attached. And we were able to set up the system to meet that unique requirement. So at this point, I'm going to pass over to Mitch, and he's going to show you how this works within NAV.
All right, thank you, Sandra. So I've put together 3 scenarios on the delivery side that we're going to touch on. The first of which is identifying one of the things that Sandra mentioned, where we've had requests from customers that reach out to us because they're interested in the batch delivery capability that Zetadocs provides. They see that as a real time saver. But the challenge is that each in our case today, sales quote that they're sending out needs to go to a different individual, because rather than sending it to the bill to contact, they actually want to send the quote to the sell to contact, because that's the person that has the day-to-day communication. The bill to really comes to when it's going to be invoiced. So to highlight Zetadocs' flexibility, you can see we have 4 orders here for the Canon group, orders 1003, or I should say quotes 1003 through 1006. When I'm ready to send those out, I simply click on the Zetadocs Send button that we've added to the ribbon and choose the report we want to send, and I'm going to specify a range that I want to send out. Now, this could be an automated process that happens automatically each day in the background, but for today's demonstration, we actually wanted to do it based on a range that we put into the system. Now, I'm doing it based on the sales quote number. You could also set it up to do it based on the date that the quote was created. Now, immediately you can see that we have 4 quotes going to the Canon group, but rather than going to the default contact or a specified contact, Zetadocs has looked at the sell to contact and addressed each quote appropriately. So you can see each one is going to a different individual. And we just implemented this for a customer where they recently deployed NAV, but they ran into a challenge because the system was only sending, could only send to the same person each time. And now with Zetadocs, they can automate the sending of quotes or order confirmations and ensure that it's going to the correct individual. So I'm going to go ahead and send these out. Now, behind the scenes, the system's going to apply a template, which I'll show you in a few moments, and that's going to be personalized to that intended recipient. And there's going to be a consistent look and feel to every quote, order confirmation, or invoice that goes out. And that's another real benefit that Zetadocs provides. Now, just while we're waiting for that to go out, I'm actually going to go into our posted sales invoices, because probably one of the most important things for any organization is to be able to quickly send out their invoices to the appropriate recipients within their customer base. And Zetadocs can streamline that process as well. So I'm once again going to go ahead and send out a batch of posted invoices. And normally you would do this based on a posting date, but once again, I'm going to do it based on a numeric range just for demo purposes. Now, the system's actually going in this case, and we're looking at the rules that have been set up in the system. So in the case of sending out our sales invoices, we want these to go to the bill to contact. So we configured the system, so anything going to the Canon group, for example, you can see here, it's always going to go to Andy Teal, who is the bill to contact. But you know what? Andy's reached out to us because he doesn't like receiving multiple emails, one for each invoice. So with Zetadocs, we can actually consolidate all invoices for Andy into a single email that gets sent out. But Andy also likes to have a couple people CC'd when he's out of the office. He wants to make sure that there's no bottlenecks that are taking place for the processing of payment. So now we're going to go ahead and send this batch, and we're going to consolidate all invoices for a particular customer into a single email. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to pop over to Outlook now so we can take a look at an example of an invoice that's been sent. So here, let me open this up. Now, for starters, you can see rather than a generic email, we're addressing this to Andy's attention. And you can configure Zetadocs to have, more fields pulled over to really personalize the body of this message. It's completely customizable based on the message that you would like to have. But we're addressing it to Andy. We've pulled over the invoice numbers, so those are being included. We've also included the invoice number and company name in the subject line. This is going to Andy's attention, but we've also CC'd it to other individuals. You can see Ian Demo and Mindy Martin. So you can have up to 5 recipients as part of the rules when delivering invoices out. We've got PDF attachments of each invoice. Here I can open that up. So you can see here we have the invoice that's been sent out. But we've also added a terms and conditions document as well. So the process of sending out invoices, you can ensure that terms and conditions are always being attached to your outbound invoices. So that's one example as to how Zetadocs can streamline the ability to send out invoices, make sure there's a personalized message, and the appropriate information is being attached. But customers reached out to us because they wanted to take things a step further. And this relates to the sending of reminder letters and statements. Oftentimes we found that when companies are sending out statements or reminder letters, their customers contact them requesting copies of the overdue invoices. So why not eliminate that step? Let's send out copies of the overdue invoices when we're sending out our statements. And I've got 2 examples that I sent out earlier this morning just so you can see what that looks like. The first one you can see we have a reminder letter that we're sending out. This is going to Nick. We are letting Nick know that his account is past due. We've got a reminder letter attached, and we've automatically attached copies of all the overdue invoices. If I click on the reminder letter, whoops, you can see here where we've got an overdue watermark clearly indicating that these 4 invoices are past due. And then you can see we've attached copies of each invoice with a separate watermark clearly indicating that this is a copy of the original invoice that was sent. Now within NAV, you can have different reminder levels based on how past due an account is, and Zetadocs can take advantage of that as well. So we can change the template to include much firmer language when a customer hits a reminder level 2 status. Sandra and I hope this shows some flexibility, or some of the ways that customers of ours have deployed Zetadocs Delivery. Really, the sky's the limit. So I highly recommend reaching out to your Innovia account manager or Sandra and I to discuss your unique needs, and then we can determine if Zetadocs is a good fit for you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mitch. Appreciate it. So Mitch just showed you a little bit of how you can use Zetadocs Delivery to send out your documents in the manner that you want them to be sent with a personalized message. Moving on to Zetadocs Capture, using Zetadocs Capture, you can store documents within NAV records so that your team can very quickly and easily pull up supporting documentation, and they know where to find it. This allows you to store documents in a very consistent manner so everybody knows how to find the documents, whether they're sales, purchasing, or outside of sales and purchasing within NAV. Not only is it important to be able to pull up supporting documents when you have a customer on the phone that has a question or an internal audit as an example, but it's also important not only to be able to store those documents within sales and purchasing records, but outside of sales and purchasing. The Zetadocs Fact Box can be used to store documents in records such as your general journals, a cash receipts journal, jobs, production orders, ledger entries. So keep in mind that you can fully use NAV to store your documents. In addition, we have found that in conversations with customers, we do have some companies that receive a large amount of incoming documents, incoming paper documents that they need to get into NAV and store it appropriately within the right record. Using Zetadocs Capture, you can also get those incoming documents, those paper invoices, for example, or even shipping documents into the appropriate NAV record very quickly and easy. And Mitch is going to show you how you can utilize Zetadocs Capture for storing your documents. And then he's also going to show you a little bit of how you can use SharePoint, if that is something that you're currently using or considering, for the storage of your documents, so that non-NAV users and people in your company can quickly pull up folders and subfolders on documents that are stored, allowing the permissions at the same time so that you have that security of those documents. So with that, I'm going to go pass this back over to Mitch, and he can show you Zetadocs Capture.
Thank you, Sandra. And as Sandra mentioned, one of the biggest return on investments with a document management solution is the fact that users have access to the information they need immediately on screen without having to go through paper file cabinets or searching through unstructured folders out on the network trying to find information that maybe wasn't labeled appropriately. We've also talked to a lot of customers where they're using links within the system, but then someone moves that file and they have a broken link and now they need to go and hunt for that document. Well, Zetadocs resolves those issues by giving users an easy way to store information, and we store it in a manner that ensures that it's going to be retrievable not only tomorrow, but 10 years down the road with the way we archive, and that's some of the things we're going to cover today. But the number one thing with any document management solution is making sure that it's easy to use. So with Zetadocs, one of the most beloved features is something that we call drag and drop for archiving supporting files. And to highlight that, I'm on a sales order, as you can see here, sales order 1006 for the Canon Group. Over on the right-hand side, we have a document window. Now, this is a test environment, so obviously you can see we've sent out several order confirmations highlighting the delivery capability. But I wanted to highlight this because it actually shows you that when you're delivering documents, you can archive those so that users have a complete overall view, not just the captured information, but also what's been sent to the customer or vendor. Now, in order to archive information, if I go into Outlook, and let me minimize this, here you can see we've got a purchase order from the Canon Group for some goods and services, and we want to attach that to this record. Now, in order to do that, I simply take the email and drag it onto the document window. Now, what happens behind the scenes is, in our case, we're going to archive this out to SharePoint, actually SharePoint Online. And when we archive that document to SharePoint Online, we're actually going to be tagging it with information that relates to this order. So we tag it with fields indicating the sales order number, the sell to customer number, the sell to customer name, and those are all fields that users could then go to SharePoint and search on that information. However, for NAV users, the simplest way to see that document is to simply click on the document in the window, and we're going to go ahead and open it. And here you can see the email that I just dragged and dropped. It's a secure copy. And not only are we bringing over the body of the email, but also any attachments as well. And if you didn't want to bring over the body, you just wanted to bring over the attachment, you can drag and drop PDFs, WAV files, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, CAD drawings, whatever the case may be. Now, one thing that we've heard from users over the last few months is they love Zetadocs for sales and purchasing, so being able to attach things to customer cards, vendor cards, sales and purchase orders, for example, and having those documents flow through to the posted purchase invoice or posted sales invoice. But they don't realize that you can actually, with the Essentials and Plus editions, use Zetadocs outside sales and purchasing, like the cash receipts journal, for example. And if I go into our journal entries, you can see here we've got an entry for Selangorian. And in the ribbon, we've added a add document to Zetadocs. I'm going to click on that, and it opens up this journal. And we've got our fact box. Let me try and there we go. resize that. So we've got our journal entry, and we want to attach a document to this cash receipts journal. Let's say the check from the customer. We want to store a copy of that. I can click on the upload button and go out, and here I go. I've got a copy of a check that I scanned in, and now we're going to have this supporting documentation, or the supporting documentation for this journal entry. It could also be the bill from your telco provider, or backup for the journal entry for office rent space. And all of the information that attached here will flow through to the appropriate ledger entry, so we can configure things that way. Once again, and I can't stress this enough, the goal of the system is to make sure that the information, the backup information, is where you need it. And where better than to have it on the journal entry or the ledger entry or the posted invoice, for example. So those are some of the ways using the drag and drop and the touch and choose option for being able to, link supporting information to records within the system. The last thing which I wanted to show from the NAV side was going into purchase invoices, because as Sandra mentioned, a lot of times the document that you need to archive, or the file, is actually a paper file that needs to be scanned and attached to a record. So for example, and I'm going to use some pictures that I had taken before, so if we have a paper document, for example, like a vendor invoice, a packing slip, we can configure the system to enable it so that users can print a barcode sticky label on a small footprint label printer attached to their workstation. Put that on the first page of the packing slip or vendor invoice, set that aside. Move on to the next one. Once they've completed processing all the paper documents that arrived that morning, take those over to a scanner, scan them into the system. What the scanner, or what Zetadocs will do, is it's going to take that document that the scanner creates, separate it into individual files based on the barcode, and link it to the appropriate record. So in this case, if I go into our purchase invoice, you can see I've got a packing slip and a vendor invoice. I can simply click on the vendor invoice, and here you can see the scanned document with the barcode at the very top. So it's just another way to streamline getting that documentation into the system. We are, however, seeing where more and more paper is going by the wayside. Vendors are sending information by email, and drag and drop is a perfect fit for that. But for those customers that are still receiving a lot of paper invoices, the barcode functionality I just showed has saved a number of companies countless hours each week. And the final thing which I wanted to show really quickly, we've shown how you can access information from NAV. That's going to really help out with audits and being able to give users access to information quickly. But you can also access the information from SharePoint. Users could go in, do a search based on an invoice number, and have it retrieve that information based on the metadata field. But I just wanted to quickly show how when we are archiving information, we are doing so in a structured manner. So you can see we've got a sales folder, which shows all documents related to sales invoices, orders in the system. And we further break it down by customer. So if I want to go in, I can see all the files for the Canon group. And these are all elements that can be used to create filtered views within the system, which can really help out when gathering supporting documentation during an audit. Hopefully that's given you some ideas and ways Zetadocs Capture can streamline things within your organization, and I'm going to pass it back to Sandra.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mitch. Really appreciate the demo. So we talked about expense management, and then also Zetadocs Delivery and Zetadocs Capture, where Mitch just showed you many ways that you can store documents securely and for quick, easy retrieval. Sometimes we have customers asking us about a return on investment, and we do have an ROI calculator available on the Zetadocs website. the calculator, you can go ahead and put in your information. In the example here, we showed a distributor of electronic equipment. They put on, their average number of quotes, invoices, statements, and the system went ahead and calculated their return on investment, not only in dollar amount, but also in number of days on the time and money saved when using an automated electronic system. So what are the next steps? What we've shown you today, we're hoping that as you reviewed the expense management and the document management on the delivery and the capture side, that it started you to start thinking about how you're currently processing documents in your current workflows and how an electronic document management system can help streamline that for you. Please speak to your Innovia account manager. Feel free to arrange a demo with myself at any time. We're more than happy to put together a demo and show you the system, not only to your team, but also we can then specify your unique requirements throughout the demo. You can also take a look at our website. The Equisys.com website has not only product information, but short product videos that show you the functionality. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and open this up to your questions. And what I'll put on the screen here as well, we're answering your questions, is just some of the comments that we've received from our customers that are using Zetadocs and the benefits that they have derived from using Zetadocs, not only in their direct cost savings, but also in their productivity gains. So I'll leave this on the screen for a minute, and then we'll open that up, Angie, to any questions.
Thank you, Sandra and Mitch. Yes, we do have a few questions. Is there still a free version of Zetadocs that is included with NAV?
The free version of Zetadocs is Zetadocs Express, and that's where up to 4 users can drag and drop documents into the NAV records. The Zetadocs Express license is, you would go ahead and order that, and we'd send you a license certificate for 4 free users. And, if you wanted to add more Express users, you can. There is additional pricing. But Express can be used for up to 4 users for free.
And just to add to that, one thing with Express, it is designed to work for sales and purchasing. If you want to look at adding it to journal entries, production orders, other areas outside the system, that would require going with one of the more advanced versions of the software.
Okay, thank you both. And we have another question. You mentioned that Zetadocs can store documents in SharePoint. We are currently using CRM for doc storage, so users outside of NAV have visibility to those documents. Is Zetadocs compatible with CRM as well?
In terms of the storage options that are available with Zetadocs offers, we can either store to SharePoint Online, which is part of Office 365, SharePoint on-premise, and we also have a network folder option that's available. I haven't heard anything about CRM storage, but we can ask. But with the SharePoint offerings, that does give the capability that non-NAV users would be able to go out to the SharePoint site and search based on the metadata fields we tag the files with.
Okay, thank you both. I don't think that we have any further questions at this time. If anyone does have any, please don't hesitate to contact Mitch or Sandra, or you can contact your Innovia rep as well. And I just want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you again, Mitch and Sandra, for the presentation. It was very well informative. And just as a reminder, I just want to let everyone know that we are recording this, so it will be available by the end of the week on our website at Innovia.com. And be sure to check out our future events. We do have a few more webinars coming up before the year end. We have one on Thursday this week, December 6th. FastPath is going to be presenting on year-end security considerations for Dynamics NAV. So if you're interested in that webinar, please don't hesitate to register for that. All right.
Thanks again, Angie, for the opportunity. We really appreciate the time today. Thank you for everybody who attended, and feel free to reach out. We've got our email addresses on the screen, and we're more than happy to answer any other further questions you might have.
All right. Thank you again, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you on one of our next webinars. Have a great day.